What's up, YouTube? It's your boy P, and today we're going to go over my first impressions of the league. I want to touch on the crafting as well as the farming aspect of the new league mechanic. We're going to look at the state of the economy as a whole, and I want to break down my character's overall progression through day one, where we got our 2 stones after doing a little bit of heist, as was the plan, and then we finished off the Atlas using the fast Atlas strategy video I put out yesterday. I want to touch on my gearing upgrade priority as well as what I actually ended up paying for every piece of gear. And we should touch on the short-term plans moving forward into today's stream, which is going to come right after this video goes live, as well as potential longer-term goals for our character. And we can contrast how the actual Peaconk Day 1 progression went compared to the League Start plans. Breach rewards are very powerful. We use the new passive tree in order to sort of target or craft the loot we want to get. What I was doing was targeting 6 links in particular. I wasn't able to get a unique 6 link, but I printed out a lot of high item level, high base type, Twilight Regalia type stuff for 6 link rare body armors, and we were selling those upwards of 60C. That's pretty good profit for a league mechanic on day 1. And I will be showing all of my trees once we get in game. But just to talk in general, love the crafting portion. The league mechanic itself for Breach, there are 3 different variants. There is the standard Breach you have come to expect, which is you run around in a circle killing monsters, and now there's a status bar at the bottom which shows you when the Breach is going to close down and expire. And it's pretty easy on most builds to be able to fully clear the Breach before it's going to expire. And once you fully clear it, you either get to fight a Breach boss in the middle or a few rares. And that is fun, accessible for every single build. The second type is sort of a hybrid of Blight and Breach, where it's a tower defense type game, except there's no towers, they're just buttons you press instead. And you're trying to defend this NPC. Monsters are coming in streams, running right at the NPC. And this is a little bit harder for some builds because you do need to protect her, keep her alive. She has an HP bar. You can't heal her unless you get a button on the ground that says heal the NPC. And those buttons seem to be kind of random. But this was still more than fine for Peaconk, as Peaconk bouncing is a pretty strong league starter. But now we're going to go into the third type, which I wasn't honestly expecting. And this is sort of a juiced up version of the second encounter, where you enter a fortress and then you have 24 waves compared to the normal 7 to 8 waves of defense. And you're in this room. This is actually the B-roll we're watching right now. You're in this room and the monsters are coming like one at a time from different sides. But as the waves progress, they start to come from all sides at once. And right now they are just running straight at the NPC and attacking her. They're even shooting at her from range. It feels pretty horrible on builds that aren't projectile based, just shooting in a line off screen. It is rough for Peaconk and bouncing. Now, I do have some short-term plans which hopefully will address this, but going forward, we're going to have to think, is the transition to Mamba going to be the best for dealing with this league mechanic or not? This was unexpected. It's really hard, and I think a lot of builds that aren't specifically a bow build or a wander build may have a little bit of difficulty, at least early on when their character isn't fully decked out yet. But yeah, overall, the league as a whole, I've been having a blast with, and I can't wait to boot up the stream later. Okay, let's start off by going over my Genesis tree so far. The top left quadrant is printing rare gear, and I'm going for body armor. Since I am playing Peaconk and bouncing, we're going for evasion-based gear. So we're looking for more chance of dex and less chance of strength. And then we're getting, additional equipment, making them slightly better. But the main idea here is defense modifiers, because if you get really good evasion stuff, you can even just use the 15% max life on the tree. So we're aiming to get really high defense rolls. And you would do the same thing if you're playing an energy shield based character, but you would prioritize intelligence instead of dexterity. Chaos Res obviously very useful on a league start especially, so we're going for that. I don't think you would want dexterity on a dex base. Maybe if you're playing energy shield, you would want the int though, because that does transition directly into more energy shield. So this is something you could do depending on what your goals are. And we're trying to print out 6 links, so we have stuff like rolling a lot more links. And generally, when you put in a graph here, there's a little button, and when you click it, it's going to dump out a bunch. And when you get 5 or 6 different things, sometimes one of them ends up being a 6th link. Some in T16 maps, they're high eye level, and they sell at least on day 1 for quite a bit. But I do expect these to drop in price since it's so easy to print out a 6th link. This is going to be only useful for the first couple days. Now, as for unique items, I'm also trying to print out 6th link unique body armors. However, I have not managed to be successful for this yet because with the rare items, you are generating a lot, but for this, you generate 1 or 2. So the odds of actually 6th linking it are quite low. I did print out a 6 socket 5 link. However, that does not quite hit the target. All right, so this tree, we have the dex requirement because I'm trying to personally print out a lightning coil. We'll see what happens there. And then, we're rolling increased times on the sockets. I'm looking for body armor at the moment. Again, if you're searching for something specific, it's very easy to refund this and then respec into what type of unique you're looking for. Moving down here, this is for currency. I think this is pretty standard. We're going for rarest outcome, chance to get a stack of 20 divine orbs maybe if you get a divine. And then there's a bunch of nodes that give you more currency. Coming down here, I think the Foulborn currency might be pretty high value, so that's why this will be subject to change once we see how the economy sort of balances out. And then at the bottom, this is the character power in terms of these little hands on your character. And for me, I am using the Ool graphs for Tender's Embrace and the Zoff graph for Heart of Flame. And these have a left side component and a right side component. And the left side component is sort of the passives for your character. And the right side component is the actual skill itself. And for me, Heart of Flame seems pretty good. It will take some damage from hits every once in a while. It's pretty high cooldown. But the problem with what I have right now is the left side passive portion is completely useless for a poison build. So what I opted to do with this tree was I want to look for Zoff grafts so we can find this Heart of Flame, but with better passives. And that was the mindset with this, and probably how everybody should be using this. You should choose the sort of active / the right side component that you want, and then you're just going to keep re-rolling them until you find one with good passives. Now the final tree down here is the mysterious item tree, and I haven't really delved too far into this, but it seems like it just gives you random items as well as potentially giving you other of these socketable things that you can put in the rest of the sockets. So this is a very early day 1 tree. We didn't hyper optimize this, but it's what we're going with so far. Now on to my actual day 1 progression. So we went into the league planning to do some heist at level 60, and that's what we did. Peaconka Bouncing ended up being one of the most meta skills, so the skill gem itself was pretty expensive. And going from Peaconk to Peaconka Bouncing feels really good, so we just farmed in heist to get the 30+ C required for Peaconka Bouncing, and I actually also spent a little bit more time in order to get a 6th link because they ended up being pretty cheap on league start at under 30 chaos. So for roughly 50 chaos, we entered map with a 6th link Peaconka Bouncing, and that just shotgun us all the way to our 2 Void Stones super easily. We had more than enough damage, a lot of defense. And that felt great. As for the character itself, I opted to go fully defensive auras because I didn't feel like I needed the damage. So I have Grace, Flesh and Stone on the Sand Stance, Arctic Armor, and I have Precision just so that my main hand chance to hit, well, it should be 100, but I'm at 99%. I guess I leveled up. As for the progression, gear-wise, Fury Valve was quite expensive. I do know Arrow's build also uses a Fury Valve, and Peaconk being so popular shot this price up to 1.5 divines, and I bought it at 1.5 divines. It has since dropped in price. Here, we can look at what stuff cost right at the moment. a good 6 link is like 5 to 8C. Peaconk bouncing 20 chaos at the time of this video. Fury Valve is 1 divine. What about in terms of chaos though? Oh, it's probably cheaper in chaos. It's only 38, so this has dropped a lot, which is good. And I did buy a doppelgangers. This is 2 divine for a high roll. Again, you do want the fizz and chaos to be pretty high because that is the only roll on this that matters. So a high rolled one is 2 divines. Now, I bought mine. I think about that as well, actually. As for everything else, I was waiting for Leper's Alms to drop in price because this was 2 divines on League Start, and it drops down. As you can see, it's 3 chaos right now. So as I log into stream, I'm going to put this on. The increased duration of ailments on enemies is a huge DPS increase, and it just has some pretty good stats as well. So I'm going to be happy to equip this for almost free since I put this off for so long. Betrayal Sting, this mod is what matters, and it's like 80 to 90C, which is cheaper than I paid for it. So that's a nice sign that this is dropping in price. It isn't too rare. It's going to keep dropping. Now the medium cluster for follow through gives us a lot of damage. This was 90 chaos, so I actually just farmed one myself. It's not a rare cluster, and you need it to be eye level 68 or higher, and just alt spam it. Takes under 50 alterations on average. It could take longer to hit the one modifier that you care about, which is follow through. Nothing else matters on this. And as you're alteration spamming, if the alteration only gives you a suffix, make sure you do use orbital augmentation to get a prefix, because that is how you get it for so cheap. Yeah, I guess that was all of my trade searches here. I trade search for Jewel as well. I guess I can put this in the video description. So just pretty strong rare jewels you can plug in at the end of your medium cluster, or you can put in on your passive tree. So yeah, as I said, we did Heist, we did our 2 stones, and then we finished the Atlas using the fast Atlas progression tree that I also put out yesterday. And then we segued off of that Atlas progression into a destructive play tree. Now, destructive play looks appealing because breach is so powerful. So you want to get through your maps really fast, and destructive play is just a pretty quick way to go through your maps. We have expedition on the big boom node, so you just run into the expedition, blow it up, run through the map, kill the bosses. Hopefully you get some extra maps from destructive play. And obviously you are going to be doing the breach mechanic. And ideally there should be a point here, but I don't have every single point yet. As for my short-term plans going to the stream, I would like to find ways to make Peaconk bouncing feel stronger at the League mechanic when we're doing the Fortress variant, defending the NPC from all these waves coming from every single side at once. Peaconk inherently isn't the best skill for this because we can't just off-screen kill these things. They're just walking up and doing damage. So I think our best option here would be to increase the damage. I have went for a pretty tanky version of this character. I'm going to have to probably pull off some defenses to get more damage. Also, I may want to try the Asenath Gentle Touch Glove, and this is going to apply Temp Chains. Hopefully that helps. It's also going to apply Explosions. We'll see. Unclear there. Now as for Mamba, is that going to be the solution? If we have really high strike range, you don't even really have to click the monsters. It'll just proliferate outwards. But the problem is to get high strike range and get a very well-balanced Mamba character, it is complicated, it requires crafting, and it's just not something you can do on a day one budget for the average person. So I don't know if I feel comfortable swapping to that when I'm also going to have to put out a guide for everybody else to do that. I also don't think I have the currency to do that. I ended up throwing over 1,000 fusings on the Doppelgangers, guys, and it didn't link. So I guess the plan today is to just throw money at this thing, get it 6 linked, because this is really good fizz mitigation. We'll have better fizz max hits, and then I can start putting on more damage elsewhere. As for the long-term plans, we are going to have to decide is Mamba the solution for this league mechanic? Because if it's not, there are a lot of options on Ranger that can do the Fortress very well. We could do Ellie Hit of the Spectrum. We could do Kinetic Blast. These would be on Deadeye. And over the next few days, I think we're going to look at what GGG's plans are for this league mechanic because it does seem like it's really pushing people towards going Wander. And on a day 1, day 2, I don't mind playing Peacock Bouncing, even if it's not perfectly ideal for that one, albeit quite rare version of the Breach encounter, because most of the time you're not even doing the Fortress. And this is good at everything else, so I don't plan on making a swap at least tomorrow, probably not the next day either, but I am going to keep my options open and sort of weigh what would be the best budget way forward into being able to do this content very comfortably. All right, so I think we're going to launch the stream as this goes up, and I hope to see you guys there. All right, peace.